mean, I think right now, especially when it comes to concerns around public safety, as well as many other issues, we know that in order to address those issues, we need robust investments in education, in youth summer employment, and in a lot of the supportive services that keep young people off of streets and keep guns off of our streets as well. But beyond that, having that investment in the actual social infrastructure of our city is a crucial part of what makes New York, New York. So, I think having those cuts to services is very concerning. I commend the City Council for moving the Adams administration off of their initial proposal, which was, an extreme, much more extreme form of austerity. They were able to secure some of those investments back into our public libraries and more, but I do think it's concerning. I absolutely do think it's concerning.
Could you just expand on the importance of the electric diesel trucks and why is it so important for the outer boroughs? And then my second question is, what is pretty much your take on Mayor Eric Adams, like his efforts as far as climate change and fighting climate change specifically in the outer boroughs?
Absolutely. Well, when it comes to this diesel trucking, we know that this industrial area and the diesel trucking that goes into transporting goods, produce, and more in and out of Hunts Point is one of the largest emission sources and consequently one of the largest health risks for the immediate community. And so this $110 million DOT grant is going to invest in electrification infrastructure, including large-scale charging across Hunts Point in order to secure and build that infrastructure to prepare for electrified trucking and for us to be able to do that as quickly as possible once this technology comes back online. We are also, separately from that grant, supporting an additional expansion of charging infrastructure for personal use vehicles, cars, and other vehicles, as well as supporting microtransit as well, scooters and other forms of transit.
Okay, and as far as my second question, what is your take on as far as the mayor, his efforts on making climate change a priority as far as like in the outer boroughs?
This is something that we have worked with Mayor Adams' administration on, and that we've been fighting very hard. We worked very, very hard in the House to secure these massive climate credits and investments through both the Inflation Reduction Act and the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. And so we've been working actually quite closely with Mayor Adams to see if we can get flood mitigation in Queens, that kind of investment in order to prevent Hurricane Ida, that style of outcome from happening again, and to also make sure that we're working really hard on pollution reduction measures in the Bronx as well.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any other local reporters
Jeff Waters
here?
of Fox News has a question for you. Hi, how are you? AOC.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
Please
So,
form
get a
one
question
straight
into it.
line for the photo line. Please form one straight line and please have your
To the website designer and how she denied same-sex couples. I know New York City has one of the most robust anti-LGBTQ discrimination laws in the country. If this really will affect those laws that are in place and what we're going to do in China.
Absolutely, thank you so much. So the first answer to your question is no. This ruling will not affect New York City's laws and it does not affect New York City or state's protections for our LGBT community. And that is why we have those laws in place, by the way. Similar for protections around bodily autonomy and Dobbs. We have those protections in New York State. We have these protections against discrimination in New York City. As you mentioned, they are the strongest, some of the strongest in the country, and they will remain some of the strongest in the country. We will not allow this attack on the LGBT community to cross the threshold of the state of New York and cross the threshold of New York City. It's not going to happen. We have seen in the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act that all people are to be protected from discrimination on the sex, gender orientation, identity, religion, etc. And New York City and New York State is the beacon, and we're the pace setter for the rest of the country on that. That ruling does not overturn our city laws, it does not overturn our state laws, but I do think that it elevates our states and our community's responsibility in the fight nationally. I've been hearing so much from people in different cities and different states that do not have these kinds of protections, that are seriously considering relocating or seeking care here. You know, even if they don't relocate, there are people that may need access to things like hormone therapy or adoption services, family services, that may have to seek care in New York. And I think that we're kind of stepping up to the plate to make sure that we expand on those protections and help our neighbors in providing those protections as well. Our right to well, I think political actors respond to consequences. I think we saw that last year. I think we've actually seen that the political blowback from overturning Dobbs was so swift from the public, from you all, and it was so intense that I actually do believe that the court was more restrained this session than it otherwise would have been. And I want to give two examples. We covered some of the bad rulings, but there are actually rulings that went in our favor that we did not anticipate. For example, there was gerrymandering, I believe in Alabama, that was overturned by the Supreme Court, and they're being mandated to reconstitute Black voting rights districts that were stripped in gerrymandering. There were also several other cases that slightly went our way, and I believe that that is because of the political consequences from the mass public after their decision around Dobbs. To say that they are not feeling that, I don't think is accurate. I think that they made a calculation, and they kind of kept their powder dry, if you will, on all the other rulings so that they could just deliver those three. So what does that mean? I think our alternatives would be I think that underscores the need for subpoenas and full-throated investigations. You know, Democrats may not have the House, but Democrats do have the Senate. And we should be using our investigatory powers and our gaggles to explore and investigate actual evidence of misconduct, right? This isn't like this whole Republican make up a controversy thing. There is very real evidence of wrongdoing here. And I do believe that we should be issuing subpoenas because that is a consequence. That is a consequence. And the more there are consequences for this behavior, the more that there is blowback, the more that there's actual material accountability, the more they will think twice before stripping people's rights away after taking money from people who are invested in that case. But Democrats sometimes need to grow a little bit more of a spine in order to issue consequences for this behavior. So while I am disappointed in President Biden's conclusion around expanding the court, that does not close all of our options here. And we have to make sure that we do that, which, by the way, also means keeping impeachment on the table for justices where there's evidence of irregularity. District circuit courts, but regardless, we need to, one of the proposals is for there to be more justices. So what I will say is that it is not up to the Supreme Court as to whether we expand the court or not. That's not within their power. That power lies solely within the presidency and within Congress that would approve those expanded seats. Now, so is it possible? Yes, it's possible to do that independently of the court. Now, politically, that's our problem, right? Is that President Biden has indicated that he is not interested in court expansion. And also, we court should be expanded. Politically, though, we don't really have an avenue before us. So the question then becomes, what else do we do? And here's what I think we should do. I mentioned earlier about the court being held accountable. I believe listen, like, it shouldn't be like this. We want to have a court where the justices are not politicized, but the fact of the matter is we have a Supreme Court where the Republican majority is a highly politicized court. Clarence Thomas is a political actor. Justice Alito is a political actor. I don't see how you go on vacations and accept gifts from billionaires with business before the court and rule in their favor and think that you are above being named to political based on the average of the incomes in that area. The problem is that it's very long instead of fast. And so we're trying to attract investment and train in really high-skilled, Station in the Bronx. It's not too far from here.